My topic is green finance, its challenges and way forwards. Statement from UN Chief at COP27, Egypt 2022. The world is on a highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator. So, yes, we are moving towards climate hell. I think I need not to elaborate. The climate imbalance is there. During the last 100 years, temperature increased of the surface of the earth. Next century, it will go on further. Global warming, our greenhouse gases are haunting the world, and funding the climate mitigation adaptation is a big challenge before the nations. But there are silver linings. One of the silver lining is that there is a growing concern among the people from top to the common people. I would say it's a growing concern. What action they have taken, finally what implementation is there, that is a different issue. But definitely there is a concern, and that is why global leaders meet at COP. So COP28 at Dubai, and even before its earlier rounds, the heads of nations, they taken a pledge to save the planet from disastrous consequences of global warming. Even in G20 agenda from 2008 onwards, this climate change is an item. While climate change threatens the globe, tackling its opening up new challenges and new opportunities. To this end, one item is climate finance or sustainable finance or green finance, whatever name we call it. So this is an emerging area. Before going into this green finance, some stock taking. What kind of fund we require and what we have today. So all we know, the most of the development and some of the developing nations declared net zero target as a part of UNO's Race to Zero campaign. While the importance of net zero is well recognized, the net zero equation is not solved. Why? There is a significant gap in climate funding. From 21 to 2050, in 30 years, as per one estimate, US $275 trillion fund is required. That is, per annum, it is boils down to 9.2 trillion on an average, whereas current spending is estimated around 5.7 trillion per annum. This works out to a shortfall of 3.5 trillion per annum, primarily on green asset. So the big question is, who will foot the bill? Some efforts made. The developed nations collectively made a commitment of 100 billion per annum to developing countries. A major breakthrough for the first time was made in COP27 on mobilizing of funds. Two agendas were approved, providing loss and damage fund for vulnerable countries, mobilizing more financial support for developing countries. Third is Standing Committee of Finance, which I want to mention. In COP16, it was established, and 20 climate finance experts are there in that Standing Committee of Finance, which is presided over by two co-chairs. And scale up of spending and capital reallocation to low carbon and climate resilient economy from high emission assets. Some key takeaways on climate finance and related areas, COP27 and COP28. I am not getting into the earlier rounds because not much development on finance, climate finance was there. So as I already mentioned, that COP27 is a breakthrough, major breakthrough was made, where loss and damage funding to vulnerable countries was first time recognized. Mobilizing more financial support from developing countries, COP20 recognized that finance is at the heart of all combat climate change. Transformation to a low carbon economy will require 4 to 6 trillion. Intention to keep the warming to 1.5 degree within the reach. In 28, COP28, some steps were declared out of which two I'm mentioning here. One is doubling the energy efficiency from 2% to 4% and tripling the renewable capacity to 11,000 gigawatt both by 2030. Holding business and institution accountable, it's both in COP27 and 28. And finally, making a pivot towards implementation. COP27 for the first time emphasized on implementation. Climate pledges aren't worth if they don't take off the pages and turn into a concrete action. So COP27 made a breakthrough in this direction. With that background in mind, quickly get into green finance. I think most of us, we know what exactly is green finance. Again, at the cost of repetition, I am mentioning here, it's the financial arrangement that are specific to fund green initiatives or ESG projects. These are listed as renewable energy, energy efficiency, low emission vehicle, pollution control, sustainable use of natural resources, biodiversity, likewise. And in order to meet the financial needs of these projects, few financial instruments have emerged, namely green bond, carbon market instrument including carbon tax, green banks, and green finance. These together are known as green finance or climate finance. Now the question is, what is the difference between this green finance and conventional finance? Conventional finance typically takes an approach from commercial angle, whereas which looks into the financial return and risk part. But green finance in contrast consider financial, social, environmental returns in combination. So this calls for a different approach and treatment. Traditional NPV, IRR, what we go for commercial, these needs to be, the outlook needs to be totally changed and new models needs to be evolved based on that. Some sources of green finance, green bond. There is a tremendous, increase in bond issues, green bond issues. 36 billion was in 2014, but the last 2 years, like 2021 and 2022, $500 billion for each year has been issued. Sovereign green bonds are issued by many countries. Clean Technology Fund, Carbon Capture Storage Fund managed by ADB along with US and Australia. Project finance and loans from commercial banks are normal, just like any other projects. These are green finance. DFIs like World Bank, ADB, International Finance Corporation. What are the challenges? Mobilizing green capital for green investments so far has been limited due to several microeconomic challenges. High borrowing cost. Now, this margin has come down, like green lending and non-green lending. But still there is a gap, 50 to 100 basis point. The question is why the gap is there. When the banks evaluate the projects, most cases the green projects, many times they are not commercially viable or have a long gestation period or have a low return. So naturally they because of the high risk, the more risk premium is there. So the idea is now to bring down this cost further, and instead there should be a discount, which is in the market parlance, financial markets, known as greenium, green premium. Green premium is just opposite of premium actually, it is a discount. For those who borrow for green projects, they should get certain discounts. So that is called green premium. So lower penetration, only 10% of the debt market have green finance. Greenwashing, again a term used, may not be known by everyone. False accounting of environmental compliances. Lack of developed market, particularly in developing countries, the green finance market is yet to properly develop. Maturity mismatch. Here the issue is most of the investors want a quick short-term return, whereas most of the big green projects are having long gestation period, need long investments. For example, PSP or green hydrogen, these are not only cost intensive, they are also time intensive. They takes a lot of time to build up and generate commercial returns. Proposed way forwards, please, if time is over, then just let me know. Okay. So I'm trying to quickly finish or not getting into the details. So the way forward. So challenges are this way forward. Some of the way forwards are already available in the literature. Some I propose here. So just quickly go through. Establishment of a global green fund with registered member nation. This can be a separate like IMF, or it can be a part of World Bank, or maybe some other. They should have a separate green fund. We will take sufficient capacity to absorb the risk coming out of the green lending or green projects. So number two, enlarging regional greenback network. Not only centralized fund, there should be regional the network who will take care of the local requirements. Green rating, just like credit rating, specifically for green projects. Introduction of green rating, recognizing overall efforts made for ESG. Concessional green lending, we all know this is required. Promoting concessional green lending, especially by multilateral agencies. Green bond market, deepening of global green bond market. Some attractive regulatory incentives needs to be allocated. Harmonized taxonomy, country to country, they have different classification of green activities. There should be harmonized, uniform definition, standardization of terminology. So, somewhat related to this classification, here is the definition of the green terminology. Regulations, stringent regulation for greenwashing, that is fall declaration of green compliances. Sustainability disclosure. So, the efforts have already made. Some of the companies, as already mentioned, that SEBI registered company, 1,000 companies has to declare in their annual report ESG efforts made. Integrated policy approach. Global experience suggests that integrated policy approach towards green finance is gaining momentum. Finally, cross-border carbon tax. A lot of things have been discussed on this carbon tax. So, devising rational mechanism to allocate funds through cross-border carbon tax arrangement. Model is proposed in the next page. It's my proposal, of course, it's your choice to accept or reject it. It's like this, two countries, let us take a country A as a developed nation, B developing nation. Developed nation normally has lower population and higher per capita. Again, there is a question mark, but I go by the per capita emission. As already one of my speakers mentioned that India is third largest emitter of the world, but per capita when you consider it's low, definitely much lower. Coming to developing countries, population is N2 and average per capita emission may be B. And global average, definitely the global average should be in between A and B. A is higher than average, B is lower than average. So, let the global per capita carbon tax per metric ton is agreed and fixed at $T, tax, carbon tax T. So, the carbon fund to be deposited by A to the global green fund is equal to what I suggested, there should be a global green fund, should be like A minus R. A means per capita of country A minus average. So, if it is over the average, global average, they have to pay. And how much they have to pay? Into the population, into the tax rate. Similarly, B has to get. So, it is B minus R into N2, their population, to T. So, in order to address the distortion due to very high population of some countries like India, a suitable ceiling for the recipient nation may be set at say $25 billion. Because otherwise the countries who have higher population, they will get much, some of the numbers may be abnormal. Okay. The above system will act as a deterrent for high emitting developed economies and incentivize as well as fill up the funding gap of low emitting developing economies. So, this is an illustration, just what I said, say a developed country is USA with 330 million population, 14.5 MT per capita emission. Indonesia, one of the representative from developing nation, 280 million population, 2.2 metric ton. So the global average is 4.47. I have taken this from the table, the chart available. It's International Energy Agency, 2021. So now US to pay to the Global Green Fund an amount of $49 billion using the formula I have already mentioned. So 330 million population, $15 is the tax rate, and this is the difference between the per capita emission and average global average. Similarly, in Indonesia will receive 9.5. If we work for India, it will become 54 billion. To restrict, as I said, there should be a ceiling, so it should be 25 billion for India. Coming to the last slide. India and green finance, a very nascent state, but still some tiny steps made. Just I am mentioning those. India has set net zero target by 2070 and acknowledged that green finance of $10 trillion needs to be mobilized to achieve this goal and fund its green transition, but the market is still in nascent stage. Some of the regulatory effort, SEBI and RBI framework has come. In 2017, SEBI enabled raising capital through green bond issue and stipulated disclosure norms. The framework for issuing sovereign green bond issued by government on 9th November 2022. RBI issued guidelines on 11 April 2023 on green deposits for the banks and other authorized NBFCs. Green bonds, some green bond issue also taken place in India. 2 tranches of green bond issued last year, 8,000 crore each, auctioned 25th January and 9th February 2023. On 10 January 23, Exim Bank of India issued green bond. They mentioned it as a sustainability bond amounting to $1 billion at the rate of 5.50% per annum. I am from oil and gas industry. People call it scene industry. So Indian energy companies are continuously pursuing diversification opportunity for investment in sustainability and energy transition activities. Today, the things are not energy transition per se, because both conventional energy as well as non-conventional energy, in both sides we are trying to increase. So it's not actually transition taking place. It is only energy addition is going on in the portfolio. But hopefully in the long run there will be a transition. Transition means this side should come down, this side should go up. Both the things are going up, and Government of India already declared target, increased target for coal production, for oil production and gas production, and these companies are tremendously under pressure to perform and achieve those targets. So it is only energy addition, no transition. So, but what are the energy additions? Carbon capture, utilization and storage, electric vehicle, hydrogen, solar, wind, offshore wind, and hence need to raise. Even my company, ONGC, is also into now in these areas, green hydrogen. Even we are going to pump storage projects. So Indian companies have huge surplus from oil business, so no need to raise fund for green initiative. Green finance chahiye nahi, you don't need. We need this money, the green money, the oil money to be greened. So due to guilt associated with oil money, Indian oil companies are increasingly getting engaged in greening this oil money just like their global counterparts. But capital markets are driving enormous growth in the value of companies that are clearly aligned with the energy transition strategies. Another good sign is Indian investors have started evaluating energy companies on the basis of their contribution in climate change. Some words of wisdom by Daniel Goleman: green is a process, not a status. We need to think of green as a verb, not an adjective. With that, I conclude my speech. Thank you. A green thank you for you.